beast from 20,000 fathoms is buried treasure. When I say buried treasure, I'm not talking about the movie's place in the pantheon of great monster movies. That place has been secure for quite some time. No, I'm talking about the buried treasures within the movie. It's a boomer generation treasure trove of movie trivia, and I'm here to lay it all out. For instance, most fans know it's a young Lee Van Cleef who shoots the monster. And Kenneth Tobey is no stranger to 50 sci-fi films. Some of you might even recognize Paul Christian as the very same Paul Hubschmidt who co-stars along with Michael Caine in 1966's Funeral in Berlin. Radar operator James Best later turns up in The Dukes of Hazzard, and more infamously as a bad guy in Rolling Thunder. Frank Ferguson we remember from McDougal's House of Horrors in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Well, some of us do. Actor King Donovan was once married to Imogene Coca. Who was Imogene Coca? Don't even get me started, otherwise we'll never get out of here. And during our hero's brief hospital stay, the voice on the radio selling cigarettes belongs to Merv Griffin. Now, some of you probably don't know who Merv Griffin was, but if you do, make sure to answer in the form of a question. Now, after King Kong, this was the monster Loose in the City movie. Sure, there was Mighty Joe Young, but he was a little too lovable to be a scary monster, especially in that great scene where he rescues all those kids from that burning orphanage. Godzilla would soon follow, but as all kaiju fans know, this beast inspired that one. I was sorry to hear that in later years, Ray Harryhausen was a little grumpy about Godzilla's place in the pantheon of monster movies. Now, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms is a great monster movie, but Godzilla strikes a dreamlike chord, and to the people of Japan, obviously it's rather close to home. But rest easy, Ray Harryhausen, your place in movie history is forever enshrined. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms was a perennial for my generation. It was always on the $1 Million Movie, and I watched it every time it was on the $1 Million Movie. Same with Godzilla. Same with Rodan. Same with The Crawling Eye. Now, some of you may think that I was a monster geek when I was a kid. Was I? Well, yes. But I was also the Crimson Pirate, and Humphrey Bogart, and Robert Mitchum. Yeah, I loved the $1 Million Movie. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms is based on a short story by Ray Bradbury called The Foghorn, which is about a dinosaur who mistakes the sound of the foghorn for a mating call. When it discovers it's really just a lighthouse, the beast destroys it in frustration. And you know, sometimes that's just the way love goes. That scene occurs about midway through the movie and is one of the great monster images, iconic in its own way as Kong on top of the Empire State Building. The movie opens at the North Pole where a group of scientists set off a nuke. It was the 50s and we tended to do things like that. Soon after the blast, two of the scientists set out in a snowcat and split up to check the radiation readings on separate monitors. And that's when one of the scientists sees the monster. He falls into a crevasse from the shock, but is still able to fire off a warning shot. The other scientist, our hero by the way, hears the shots and comes to the rescue, but before he can get help, the monster reappears and sets off an avalanche. The first scientist is buried, but our hero manages to survive. He's in bad shape, however, and is soon transported to a New York hospital to recuperate. But once there, he's shocked to discover that no one believes his story about seeing the monster. Soon after, a fishing catch runs afoul of our monster, and that's the news that Merv Griffin delivers on the radio, and that's the news that gets our hero out of his sickbed. Our hero scientist soon visits Professor Elson, the Dean of Paleontology at the university. Which university, they never say, but then again, they never do. The professor is played wonderfully by Cecil Kellaway, but the kindly professor won't subscribe to our hero's theory. But you can by pressing that button below. But all is not lost, as the professor's beautiful young assistant believes our hero. She invites our hero to her apartment so he can look through some sketches of dinosaurs. She's played by Paula Raymond, who has a great line about her coffee making skills. But never fear, she's actually a scientist. He recognizes our monster, all right, and later so does the first mate of the fishing catch. After that, the professor gets on the phone, and before you know it, the Navy places a diving bell at his disposal so he can check out New York's underwater canyons. This ends badly as our monster gobbles up the professor, diving bell and all. And even though we love the professor, it's still a pretty cool scene. It's now time for our monster to come calling on the Big Apple, and from here on out, it's big-time monster madness as the Beast does Broadway. But as always, there's a wannabe hero in every crowd, as one lone cop thinks he can bring down the Beast with his police special. The Beast bends down and puts the bite on him. He straightens up with the cop still hanging from his mouth, and then he slurps him. Oh, man. Later on, as night falls on Manhattan, it's a movie joke, by the way, the army has our Beast corralled behind the barricade. And thanks to Harryhausen's stop-motion skills, the Beast moves like a cornered animal. They try shooting him with Clint Eastwood's 20-millimeter gun from Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, but that doesn't work. Next, the Bazooka Squad steps up to the plate just as the Beast starts snapping at the high-tension wires. They wound the Beast with their second shot, and then the lights go out. And then they spot the blood, one drop after another. The soldiers follow the blood trail, but soon many of them are out on their feet, passing out, coming down with something. Turns out the Beast is a carrier of a terrible disease, which means it has to be killed from the inside. What a great idea it was to set the climax in an amusement park. It's the best of both worlds. And hambone that he is, our Beast literally chews the scenery. Most particularly that roller coaster, because our guys, and in particular Lee Van Cleef as the Army sniper, can't get a clear shot at him. And that means they have to ride the roller coaster to the top of the first big hill. Once on top of the hill, they have to shoot the Beast with a radioactive isotope. They hit the target all right, but the Beast's reaction is so violent as he rears back against the coaster that it sends the coaster train careening down the tracks until it crashes and starts a fire. Our heroes now have to walk back down the hill. And as a kid, I'm thinking, can I do that? Yeah, I think I can do that. But as the fire spreads, they now have to climb down the coaster. And as a kid, I'm thinking, can I do that? Yeah, I can do that. Finally, the Beast dies, as a grand and glorious hero movie monster should. Director Eugene Laurier would later helm The Giant Behemoth, which is another Monster Loose in the City movie, although this time set in London. While not as good as The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, The Giant Behemoth is still fun, thanks mostly to a fine cast of British supporting players and its own buried treasures. So in the end, what have we got? We've got a Rhedosaurus, a roller coaster, and a radioactive isotope. We're rocking the 50s big time.